We're live, family.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum, family. If you're just joining us, we had a little bit of technical difficulties, but we was just going in deep with our family brother, Linnie Muhammad, and then brothers and sister Rodrina Muhammad. So we're going to go right into our questions, but I don't want you all to miss what we discussed so far. So I'm going to re-ask my question to sister Rodrina just so you can understand and hear the powerful, power-packed answer that she gave us. So sister Rodrina, I'll go back to you. Now you have your clothing line that you design, and I want you to go back and just tell us how do you go about designing the modest clothing so that way we can feel beautiful and not just feel like being modest is just something that is not beautiful.
Yes, ma'am. I think it's important that sisters know that we can look beautifully covered and dressed for God and not just the world. So I also feel that a lot of sisters may struggle with having to cover. So I feel like it's my duty to show and help sisters in that aspect of being able to find things where they don't have to feel like they need to look frumpy or, not in style, uh, mama, that modest is a beautiful, being modest is the most beautiful way to dress. And we, think a lot, we have a lot of options now as well. So I try and make that a part of what I do to help the sisters.
Yes, ma'am. And before you said that you pivoted from the prints because
Yes,
we
ma'am.
don't the rate of print. So do you still call it Afro Nix honeycomb or have you changed that?
No, ma'am. So initially I was actually sewing the clothes myself, and I was using African print patterns because I teach West African dance. So I had the connection with that. And once I learned that we don't really wear those prints, I pivoted to more modest clothes. But the name Afronique to me is it has a meaning of being Afrocentric, but also unique. And a honeycomb
Mm.
is like a lot of different options and ways that we can go while doing it.
Wow, beautiful. Thank you, beloved. And Brother Lonnie, you actually helped New Brunswick turn from a study group to a mod. So can you let us know how did Allah bless you to do that? Did it any practical steps you use in particular, or how did that work?
Well, it's a team effort. Being a part of the study group in New Brunswick when I first joined, we were very small. We didn't have a building. Study groups were different at that time. We were under Newark Mosque 25, and that was considered the mother mosque. So all of our meetings were in Newark, and we were allowed to have a study group night on a Thursday night. But we just fished hard. I mean,
Mm.
we had a rule, don't come if you don't have a guest kind of rule. And student captain Joseph, who is now, he's still the captain, he's the longest tenured captain. We still live by that rule, bring a guest. And we fished hard. We took all our guests to the quote unquote Mother Mosque, which was Mosque 25. And we just began to grow and grow and grow. And Allah blessed our brother, student minister James, may Allah be pleased with him, to become the first student minister of Muhammad Mosque number 85. So again, it's a team effort. And you have the fish that you get, you got to treat them right so that they will
Mhm.
stay. And Allah blessed us. It was just that time. It was time for us to become a mosque, and we're still going strong.
Praise be to Allah. And my next question before I turn it over to Brother West, being as though you both are newly married, praise be to Allah, how did you both understand love before you were registered in the Nation of Islam versus how you understand love now? And either one of you can start first.
Well, I'll say this. Being in a marriage, you got to understand that you're going to give and take. You're going to, if you're looking for a perfect mate, you're probably going to, be single for a long time. So we just followed the guidance that, we received. Student Minister Willie in New Orleans is a great brother who he had this document based on the lecture given by the minister, What is Your Role? And we just studied that. We talked about it. We went through it. And if what we do is not centered on the thing that brought us together, which was Allah and the nation, that's the starting point. So I think we just realized that if we stick on our deen, any issues, any problems that may arrive are solved in the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Farrakhan have given us the study guides to do that. So I think that's kind of where we kind of made that connection, and Allah has blessed us.
Praise be to Allah. Sister?
Yes, ma'am. I would say for me, I felt like maybe love was more of a feeling than an action. Once I, started studying the teachings. So it became actually what the minister said, love is duty, opposed to just a feeling. So it made me more dutiful.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Praise be to Allah. Thank you both for those responses. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Brother West. I know he has some power pack questions for you both. So, Brother West, I'll turn it over to you for your questions. You're still on me, Brother West.
Okay, praise be to Allah. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and that Muhammad is his messenger. Assalamu alaikum, family.
Wa alaikum salam, Brother West.
Okay, praise be to Allah, family. We are definitely glad to have you all on. We know we had a few technical difficulties, but we thank you all for bearing with us, and we're happy to have you on our show. So my first question that I want to ask you both is if you can speak on how you both met, your courtship process, and what made you want to pursue marriage. What made you feel like you were both perfect for one another? And go ahead and tie the knot.
Sister, you can, you want me to, all right. So, this is always a story that is like grows every time you tell it. But sister has a clothing line, and I just was online one day and I saw a sweatsuit, and it had the star and crescent on it. I was like, man, that's a nice sweatsuit. So I ordered a sweatsuit. Now, it took a little while to, no, I'm not going to say it took a while, but it didn't come as quick as, say, Amazon, right? So I hit sister up, was like, hey, we good, right? She was like, no, it's on its way. So I was like, okay. So I get the sweatsuit. Now, brothers, back in the day, I was taught the male zipper is on one side and the female zipper is on another side. I didn't know there was a unisex zipper. Okay. So I get the sweatsuit and the zipper's not on the right side. So I'm hitting her up like, sis, is this a woman's? And she was like, getting a little stern with me, brother, there's da-da-da. So I was like, wow, this is a little, yeah. I said, so I reached out to, follow the guidance of our nation. I reached out to the captain of the mosque, and I asked, was sister single and available, and got a response back. So that kind of was really the way we met. I bought the suit, and we kind of interacted because I thought it was a scam at first. No, I'm just kidding. But we interacted, and then Allah blessed us. So is that about right?
That's about right. Yes. And so, me being new, I was studying the courtship manual, and it was during COVID. Was it still COVID?
It was COVID.
It was still COVID. So
it was the end. It was
had
near
lots
the end
of time
COVID.
to study. I was going to study group virtually all the time, and our righteousness sustained us. Right. So we followed the courtship manual as best as we can. We had dates that were chaperoned, and I'll share this story. It's a little bit funny, but the day Brother Linnie was coming to see me, we actually had a hurricane that was coming to New Orleans, and we had to evacuate. So he was at the airport getting ready to fly here, and I was like, oh, and I had all of my chaperones lined up for our date, and I was like, oh, we're not gonna be able to do it. You know, we got a hurricane and blah blah blah. So we had to pivot all of that. And to me, because some people can be a little bit spooky when stuff like that happen, like, oh, that's a sign or whatever, you know. But he still persisted, and I was like, okay, I thought that was gonna be a lot because it derailed our whole plan. And but we just got right back on course, you know, with our courtship. So, and I think we knew kind of early on, like, yeah, we were compatible because Brother Linnie is like a family man and I'm a family person. So, you know, that makes us outgoing because we like to be with our family. So I think that was the most of it.
And I want to add a little something to that because, you know, I'm at the airport and it was a connecting flight. So the first flight was to DC. Then the second flight was to New Orleans from New Jersey. So the DC flight was going, but I'm looking at the news and it's like a hurricane. And I was still about to go to be 100. I was about to go because I thought maybe she needed some help or I don't know. But, you know, I didn't, you know, because of the meeting that we had, the intro that we had, and then the discussions that we were having centered around the teachings, you know, and then seeing, and I'll say this about social media, a lot of us during that time were on social media and we were interacting, and it could be good or bad, but we used what Allah has blessed our enemy to develop for good. And we had to police ourselves, obviously. And, you know, it worked out because we had an understanding of what it took to be in a successful marriage.
Brother Welsh, you still there?
I'm having mic problems today, but all praise is due to Allah. I'm happy that you all were still able to connect. That's definitely a beautiful relationship. I'm very happy for you both. So I wanted to ask you another question about the courtship process now that you all spoke on it. So if you can explain the importance and role in today's society that our courtship process has, with the divorce rates being very high and low marriage rates and more situationships, but no true responsible connections with one another. You all can just speak on why the courtship process is so important in a day like today.
Sister, you can.
Yes, I'll say the courtship is, you know, mandatory in our lives because for me, I said, I don't know what I'm doing. Let Allah lead and guide me for him to send me the person that is best for me and my family. Because when you marry somebody, you marry into their family as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so the courtship is protection for us. It gave me time to relax and actually take the brother to court. And so during our courtship process, you know, my mother is deceased, and but I have a brother. He's actually my younger brother. But I told my brother, take him to court like you're doing for your own daughters.
Right,
and he was like, oh, you know, he got chest up about that because I'm the big sister. And so I wanted Brother Linnie to know, because he said something to me one time. It was funny. He said, you know who I am? I got a lot, something like he have a lot of people looking after him. And I was like, you know who I am? I got a lot of people looking after me too. Like for me to meet, you know, the laborers and stuff. I'm like, I got a line of people, you know, you got to go through my AT. Like, so anyway, my brother took him to court and I was like, you know, I wanted my brother to get on that nerve to see what he made of, you know, when he get agitated. And so, but Brother Linnie is pretty cool. But because he was a student minister, I didn't want him to think like, you can't get done what you do to other people. You know, like you test people.
Right.
So somebody gonna have to test you and see how you act, like, you know, like how you respond to that. So I knew that our righteousness would sustain us. That courtship manual to me was like law.
Right.
You know.
Right. Excellent. So that is fact. Brunlaw was trying. I'm just gonna say that, but the FOI, we can handle ourselves. So I will say this, family, the courtship and it's kind of fallen by the wayside today. Being in the ministry of the Honorable Minister Farrakhan, our duty and responsibility is to shepherd, and pastor the believers. Sometimes we don't want to be pastor. Sometimes, love is in the air and we just throw caution to the wind. But I strongly recommend that if you are entertaining the idea of getting into a courtship, which we all should find a mate. This is not a single nation. This is a nation of marriage. And you should counsel with your local student minister. Put everything aside. If you don't agree on theology, whatever it may be, but you may hear something that will cause you to look at the person you're intending on marrying. And, because it's such a big decision, Brother Nuri, I heard him say, outside of our decision to follow God, it's the second biggest decision we're going to make in our life. So the courtship process, as she said, is a protection and it is court. So you're bringing evidence. You're cross-examining. And you know us, brother, when the enemy get us in that little room where they interrogating us, they don't just ask us a question one time and they let it go. Not that I know this from experience. I'm just telling you. But they're going to ask you the same question over and over again. They're going to come back to that question. And if your answer deviates in any way, they're going to say, hey, well, earlier you said. So, brothers and sisters, you want to make sure that you're doing your due diligence, because this is what can drive the divorce rate up. We're having, legalized dates. We're getting married for a couple of months. And then, we think divorce is just something we can do quickly online on LegalZoom now. So definitely go through the process and seek counsel from someone that is not your yes man or your yes woman, somebody that may not be in your circle. But your student minister should be one that talks with you both, so that he can be the good cop, bad cop, or whatever you need to be. But it's imperative that we follow the process.
Yes, sir. Thank you for giving that wonderful insight. I really appreciate it. And my next question for you both, shifting gears just a little bit, I wanted to know, what advice would you give to those who may admire the Nation of Islam? They may come to a few Sundays. They may know of people who are in the nation, but just aren't ready to take on such a level of discipline. What would you say to them to commit to being in the nation, given the wonderful things that it has blessed you both with?
Yeah, I can bear witness that it has been a life-giving and changing journey for me in a positive way. And that a lot of times I hear people say when they're hesitant about, joining, is that they want to get right before they come in. And I'm like, that's so funny to me, because you're not going to get right, if you're not coming to the hospital. And this is a hospital where at least we're all striving. It's not perfection in here, but at least you're with people who bow down, who know that we sick in some kind of way, we need help. Mm-hmm. And we have a process and protocols that we follow to help us maintain our deen. So I just try and encourage people, like, it's not going to happen. It won't happen unless you coming in, actually. Mm-hmm. Like, you have to do this. You have to actually walk the walk.
And, that was a great point Sister said. We hear it all the time. We're out with the paper, or we're talking to our people. When I get myself together, I'm going to come to the mosque. And I'm like, brother, that's like getting shot and saying, when the wound heal, I'll go to the hospital. It just doesn't work that way. So the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is such a perfect example and a light for us, that we have to use him as that tool. Sometimes we may be that reason why that person may not come. You know, they may know us as we used to be. I used to run the block over here. I used to do this, used to do that. But the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's track record is 100% pure. So my, word to a brother or a sister, what are you waiting for? Why wait? What do you have to lose by joining on to your own kind? And I think the way I see the nation now, as opposed to when I came in, I didn't know we went bowling. All right. We having bowling night coming. I didn't know we did some of the things. I just thought it was final call, final call, final call. And I thank Allah for that upbringing. But we have to show our people that we're not giving up anything of value by coming to the nation and being a part. And you actually are going to gain. Holy Quran says you plant one seed of corn and look how many ears and look how many kernel are on the stalk that come from one seed. So that's what our blessing is tenfold. And we have to show our people that joining on to your own kind is the best decision you could ever make in your life.
Yes, sir. That's most certainly true. And next, I wanted to ask you both, or sister, did you get a chance to answer?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay, yes, ma'am. Just making sure. I wanted to ask you both, what's the greatest piece of advice that you've been given by a fellow believer, and how has that helped you throughout your journey in the Nation of Islam?
Sister?
The greatest piece of advice that I've been given from a believer?
Yes, ma'am.
Let me think.
It can be about, marriage, of course, or it can just be about your personal journey, of course.
Let me think a little bit.
I got one that stuck.
Linnie, yes, sir.
I came up in the historic mosque number 25 under the leadership of Student Regional Minister Abdul Qadir Muhammad and now Student Regional Captain Majid Muhammad. So I was blessed to be the driver for Brother Qadir for a number of years. So I got a lot of hard and a lot of, advice. So, but Brother Qadir told me, and his analogies were real. That's one thing about Brother Minister Qadir, and that's why I love him to death. I heard the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, if I had 10 like him, I would take the country. He said, brother, don't be a toilet bowl, brother. Don't let people come and sit down on you and then walk away and don't even flush. And sometimes when we come into the nation, we feel we are now the anchor for everybody, even our family. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan told us the story about when he was in New York as the minister. He would have Wednesdays where people would line up and come to his office, and the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad called him and said, brother, I understand that you are there rehearsing the problems of the believers. And he told him not to do that because it was wearing him down. And he said, I didn't teach or send you there to do that. I sent you there to teach Islam. So weighing other than ourselves, I know that's a statement that the sisters use, but the teaching is for all of us, and we cannot take on another person's burden. We got enough worrying about our own. And Brother Qadir used to say this, minding your business is a full-time job. So that's one thing that I think helped me early on. Now it's a little different. I mind a lot of business now, as in my role, but that helped me as a believer.
Okay, so I'll share. It was actually something that Brother Linnie had said on a rostrum one day when he was speaking here in New Orleans, and he made a reference to how when things are going array in our life in a way that we don't like it, the first thing we give up is our religion.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that stuck with me.
The first casualty of war in our spiritual life is usually the mosque. We go through something personally and we be like, I got to step away for a
Yeah.
little while. And that's like the worst thing we can do.
Yes, sir. That's most certainly true. And I thank you all for giving some of that advice to our audience. As you said, we can all use it no matter our walk of life. And actually, family, we've had quite a few questions lining up for you in the chat. So I believe this is Sister Rodrina Muhammd. She's asking, being in the Nation of Islam for nearly 34 years, how did all of the trials and tribulations help you to become the man you are today? So I believe she's asking you, Brother Linnie.
Praise is due to Allah. Well, that's a weighted question for sure.
Sure.
You know, time will season you, and you can't remain in this teaching and not be affected on the positive level, because the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us our brains are designed to think right thoughts. So being in the nation around and under the teachings, it helps you grow if you buy in. You can't wear it as a badge. You can't wear it on your lapel. You have to internalize it. And I think, and I'm gonna share this part with you. When I came to Muhammad Mosque number 25 on the first day, it was in September in 1991. Before anybody got on the rostrum, I wanted to join, because I looked around and I saw all Black people. I saw a brother on post. I still see that brother today. His name is Brother Bryce. I got to give Brother Bryce a shout out every time, because I looked at him and I said, I want to be him. And I came to help. And if we come to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan to help, Allah is going to bless us. Because if we help Allah and his messenger, Allah will make us, our feet firm. Brother Majid always says that one. So if we come to help, the only thing Allah can do is bless us. He's not a liar. So trials, yes, but a setback is a setup for a comeback. And we got to know that trials are going to come in our lives in the nation. I mean, you can go to church, you're going to get tried. But the Holy Quran tells us trials purify. So if we accept the trial, FOI, we meet and overcome that trial or that obstacle, then we move on to the next one. And when we get to the next one, we are prepared because we just went through a trial similar. So the longer we stay in the fight, the more we get used to the left hooks and the right hooks that are going to come. And at a certain point, we wear Satan down and we can just say, get thee behind me at a certain point. So by Allah's grace, I pray that I'm to a higher level, and as my wife will be there too. She might be there already. She might be ahead of me, where the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said he will make us so wise. This is from the minister, that we will have Satan wrapped around our little finger and we wouldn't even know he was there unless we looked at him. So I try to live by that.
All praises due to Allah. Thank you for that wonderful answer. And we actually have more questions for you from our brother Tony Too Smooth. He's asking, what are some of the greatest memories you've had while being in the mosque?
Sister?
Yes, I have a lot of great memories. That's why I keep going. Like our Saturday classes are so God-filled. You know, sometimes Brother Linnie will be like, so how was class? And I'm like, amazing. He's like, well, I'm like, no, like, you know, the class, being with the sisters, going work with them, making sure that, you know, I'm doing what I can to make sure that our mosque is going to be there for the future generations. You know, it's, you know, my favorite place to be. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I would say working with the sisters in the sisterhood.
With me, you know, obviously there are a lot, you know, just my first time shaking the minister's hand, obviously, you know, for every one of us, that is an experience you will never, you don't want to wash your hand for a week after that. But I believe one of my most memorable moments is after the Million Man March. Obviously, the Million Man March was the greatest event in the history of, you know, of our sojourn in America. But after the march, I was in North Carolina, and a brother said to me, you know, what we going to do next? It was just me and one other brother. And he said, well, what are we going to do? So I said, man, we need to hold a meeting somewhere, you know, see who want to follow up. And we called this little meeting at this church, and the place was packed. And that was the first time I ever spoke. I wasn't a minister. I was nobody, but I saw all these people. And I don't remember what I said, but all I remember saying was, who would like to join and help the Honorable Minister Farrakhan? And these two sisters stood up. And I remember those two sisters. They were the first two believers that Allah blessed me to call. They got registered. So that was a very, very memorable moment that kind of began my student minister career, if you will. But so many memories, just again, being with the minister, going through the streets. You know, I've been through every neighborhood. I remember hearing about Compton, right? Compton in the 80s. You was listening to this NWA music. And I remember Savior's Day was in LA. That was like one of my second Savior's Day. And we went to Compton. And I was like, man, I'm in Compton. So just, you know, traveling throughout the nation and, you know, the Savior's Day experience, those are the great memories that we have. And we pray there are many more.
I just remember one.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
When my son got his pen because he registered. My youngest son.
That was this year? Last year?
He graduated this year.
This year,
like my heart almost bust open. And I think that was one of the greatest ones. Right. That was the greatest memory.
Praise be to Allah.
All praises be to Allah. I'm very happy to hear that you all have had some wonderful experiences in your journey throughout the nation. We have another question from Sister Rodrina Muhammd, who wants to know, how did you all decide what state or which state you all live in?
Sister Brenda, you trying to start something now. So I'm going to give my answer, right? Who says we got to live in one state? The lessons say that, you know, Allah made a big field for us. There's 196,940,000 square miles of earth that belong to the original man. So right now, you know, Allah has blessed us to be able to move back and forth. We're handling some business right now in New Orleans, but, you know, I traveled to Jersey every other week. Inshallah, I'll be there this Sunday. This weekend, we'll be delivering a message. But I want to thank my student regional minister, Arthur Muhammad, for understanding, you know, because life throws things your way. And Brother Ishmael said this. He didn't say it to me directly, but he must have been thinking about me when he said it. When we're in a courtship, that's a long distance, right? Because social media caused a lot of these courtships to be long distance. He reminded us that, you know, this sister is a flower and she's planted in soil and blooming. Now, if I want to uproot this flower, I better make sure that when I put her in the new soil, she can continue to thrive. So that hit home with me because we moved, you know, we were living back and forth. And, you know, again, she had a young son who was still in high school. We didn't want to upset that apple cart. So Allah has blessed us with the means to go back and forth. And, you know, the minister has a home in Phoenix. He has a home in Chicago. You know, so we should strive to be able to be mobile like that. But we decided to live in both places until Allah, you know, settles us. Once all the children are settled, we can go ahead and get that mini McMansion that we've been talking about. I don't know where it's going to be, but inshallah, it'll be where we can serve the nation, you know, in the best manner.
And I'll just add that we knew this in our courtship, that we were going to be back and forth. And we pretty much timed it to when my son would graduate high school. And initially I was doing a lot of the back and forth.
Right.
And then, you know, lately, the last year and a half, of our marriage. Brother Linnie has been mostly back and forth, and he liked New Orleans. When people come to New Orleans, they like
Lord.
it. So, you know, we haven't finalized that decision yet.
Yes, man, that's a great insight on that. So definitely thank you all for answering that one as well. And you all are, I don't know, you all are just on fire tonight. We have a lot of questions pouring in. So Sister Rodrina wants to know, how important is it to be patient with our people when trying to help them / us, I guess, see ourselves being directly from God? That's a good one.
You know, sister, great question. But the minister has told us that we should pattern our lives after him. He said, if you want to be successful, look at my life. And he's the most patient man that I've ever known. And Allah made him. The Holy Quran said he was fashioned into shape for us. He was made specifically for us because he knew he was dealing with the stiff-necked, hard-hearted people. But because he knew what Allah had given him through his teacher, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he knew he could weaken that stiff neck and soften that hard heart. So I just took it upon myself to be as patient as the minister. And I'll share this story with you. And I learned this just from the minister. I was blessed to sit with him and a group of other ministers. There was a brother there talking, and he was talking. I mean, he went on. We were getting a little upset, but the minister just sat there and listened. He never interrupted this brother. And this went on for a good 45 minutes. And then, you know, the minister interjected a little something, but he showed so much patience because he knew he was dealing with a man who was the property of his father, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So if we just learn who we're looking at in the face of every black man and woman, you're looking at God. So be patient with God, because he's going to ask you in one of three ways: yes, no, or wait. So if we take that mentality, I think we will understand how we didn't get in our condition overnight. Some of us been Negroes a long time. And we come to the mosque and a month in, we think we got it. So that's why, you know, this journey that we're on, as Prophet Muhammad said, peace be upon him, the journey in search of knowledge is one you never return from. So if we understand that, I think, you know, I hate to be long, but sister, you know, you can share.
Yes. And I would say for me I'm a reminder that I want Allah to be patient with me, right, and for me to be patient with me. So I know the little bit of the knowledge that I have from the teachings, you know, for our people who don't even have that, the condition that they're in, then of course, you know, I have to show patience beyond what I would even have for myself, because they don't know who they are, or who we are.
Yes, ma'am. All praise is due to Allah. And before we go to our next questions, family, we're going to go to our station ID. You are listening to WHID-FM. We want to thank you for tuning in and spending your valuable time, because without you, there is no WHID-FM. If you have any suggestions, please email us at WHID1919@gmail.com. And also, please subscribe to WHID-FM on YouTube and follow us on Facebook. And next week, family, June 15th, 2025, on Father's Day, or as we here at WHID-FM lovingly call it Original Man's Day, we will not air, family. So please rejoin us on Sunday, June 22nd, 2025, as we anticipate another spirit-filled evening, another wonderful episode. Our guest, inshallah, out of Mighty Muhammad Mosque number 48 out there in Dallas, Texas, will be our brother student minister, Shaheed Muhammad. So make sure you tune in for another wonderful time here on WHID-FM. the Sunday after next, June 22nd. So, family, before I go ahead and turn it back over to Sister Janine for her questions, I want to ask you if you can just give us maybe a synopsis, maybe pack it in a nutshell, get to the root, but what has Islam done for you?
Sister.
Yes, sir. For me, Islam has dignified me as a woman. It's made me a better daughter, you know, wife, mother, friend, employer, employee, because, you know, I try and remember to be patient and show, you know, humility. So, and I'm constantly reminded again of the condition of our people. Um, I've been blessed, you know, to have a great partner on a journey, you know, because it's a way of life. You know, everything we do is centered around Islam, you know, how we eat when we get up,
Mm-hmm.
how we dress, where we going, where we don't go. So having a partner in that is a blessing, you know. So I think a lot for that as well. And again, my son, that's I'm very happy for that, you know, to see your children look at you and say, "Oh, I want to do that too," you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Mm-hmm. Praise be to Allah. I will say, first, I'll say this, brother. Uh, I like to say not what Islam has done for me, but what Islam is doing for me, because it's a continuation. I mean, I can look back and see all of the things that maybe Allah has blessed me with and blessed us with, but you know, a motto that I always have is if the windshield is a bigger view than the rear view mirror. Now you get a view out of the rear view mirror. You can see it serves its purpose. However, the windshield is a bigger view. And you know, what Allah has blessed us with is a man that is a well that never runs dry. And if we get any type of complacency in our lives, that's when we begin to take steps back. And I just, you know, thank Allah. As Sister said, I echo everything she said, to be a better father, a better husband, a better brother, a better son. You know, I thank Allah all the time for my parents. And I found myself following the example that our illustrious Supreme Captain has made in the way he handles his father. And my father is up in age, and I attempt to handle my dad the same way Brother Mustafa Farrakhan handles his father. And I just look at great examples and try to pattern those. So I think Islam has blessed me to be rooted, you know. And one thing about Islam, it guides you in a path that's not expansed. It's narrow. And if you stay on that path, you won't have to worry about, you know, someone hiding in the cut and knocking you in the head. You're on the path. The path is a beaten path. It's a clear way. Stay on the path and you'll be all right. So, you know, praise be to Allah for the Honorable Minister Farrakhan.
Yes, sir, indeed. And I thank you all for answering that question. With that, we'll go to you, Sister Janine, for your questions.
Thank you, Brother West. My follow-up question for you both is, knowing what you know now, what will you tell your 10-year-old self?
I gotta find my 10-year-old self. You don't gotta go that far, but I gotta find my 10-year-old self. You know, but thought travels at 24 billion miles per second. So I found him. And you know, that was a pivotal age for me. Because you know that is the time where the enemy will begin to sift those who show of our children who show certain characteristics. And as Malcolm was told, you know, he wanted to be a lawyer, and his teacher told him, "Oh, you know, your people not even gonna hire you. No, we're not gonna hire you. Be a great carpenter." it killed Malcolm's spirit. And the minister the same way. The teacher told him, oh, brother Lewis, they ain't call him brother. Oh, Lewis, you play the violin beautifully. But, you know, but he wanted to do something else. And that happened to me as well. And what I would tell my 10-year-old self is, you know, be ready, because the teachings is going to find you. I don't care where you are. The teachings is going to find you. And when it taps you on the shoulder or it calls your cell phone, answer that phone. So that's kind of what I would tell myself.
So aside from telling my 10-year-old self, join as soon as you can, you know, follow the teachings, because, you know, in New Orleans, it's a lot of Catholicism. So at the time I was practicing Catholicism, and, you know, we have a lot of sacraments and stuff. So I was studying a lot of scriptures and biblical things, but it didn't connect with me until I started studying the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So aside from telling myself that, I would tell myself that God got me, that God is real, you know.
Great.
And one of my final questions for you both, I like to run this question by, I guess, here and now. So I want you to both imagine that you've been invited to a dinner. And when you go to the dinner, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad walks into the room. What would you ask, or would you ask anything?
I'm going to let you go first on that.
I can't. I'm about to start crying just thinking about it.
Man.
Let me think. Am I going to make it on the wheel? No, I don't know.
Excellent question. Excellent
question.
Room
for me.
Yeah, yeah.
I guess I would ask him if he got all his people, you know. Did he get all his people?
You know, that's almost a reoccurring dream I have sometimes. You know, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan likes to hear if the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad visits us. And I would just ask him, you know, the apostle, am I worthy? I would just ask him, you know, have I done a good job, and what can I do to be a better servant of his helper? Because that's how we winning with the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He's going to judge us based on how we helping the man he gave us, that he told us, where you see him, look at him. So I want to say, dear apostle, am I looking at him enough? Am I hearing him enough? When he tell me to go somewhere, did I go? Help me understand, because I want to make sure I get it right. So excellent question. You should have gave us that one in advance. That was an excellent question.
You know, I like to ask that question on the spot, because most people are like, oh my God, I guess they imagine that moment. They're like, I don't know what I would say. Like, so I love to hear on the spot answers, and I thank you both for that. I wanted another final question I have for you both. Being as though, you know, prior to COVID, a lot of us was doing the work. We never really saw the fall of this world coming, but now we really see it. Right now, it's in your face every day. You can't escape from it. So now that people are seeing a time that most believers will say they never thought they would live to see this time, what advice would you give to new believers that are joining now?
Sissy, you want to go?
Yeah, I think, my apologies, I can't quote the minister like Brother Linnie do, but I read in one of the, it's in the Holy Quran, and also the minister mentioned it in one of the study guides, that if you're doing the right thing, you don't have to worry about that. You just stay doing the right thing, and it won't touch us if you're doing the right thing. So to stay on their deen, you know, making sure that they're helping, being good people.
And I will say, you know, we're thankful that a man has been a warner to us. We don't want to be like I told you so. We just want to be prepared. And we got to understand, no man knoweth the hour. So we may think we see it. You know, there were many in 1975 who didn't expect what happened. You know, so COVID gave us the opportunity. And this kind of was a pivotal point for me in my life and my spiritual development. It made us focus on ourselves. And I looked at self, the word self, and I kept saying that word is so important because our study guides are called self-improvement, the base for community development. So if we are, you know, not allowed or able to come out of our homes again and go to mosque or do all of these things, there may not be the internet where we can have this great show for a while. Are you able to sustain yourself? So if we focus on self, all that happens outside, we can't control. We can only understand what Allah is manifesting and do our best to survive. So the minister said this, you can't imagine. No, he said, you can't fathom the depth of Satan. And we think we seeing something, but man, he got a whole nother level. So we're blessed that a man is giving us the warning that we can be prepared for the next depth that this man is going to go to. So continue to hear this man, Minister Farrakhan. And, you know, one thing I'll share with your audience, one thing we're talking about a lot is, you know, the minister has spoken so much that if we put all of his lectures on in a repeated fashion, like one lecture after another, we would not live long enough to listen to them all. Most of us.
Right.
So put that man in your play list or on your YouTube channel, whatever it is, so that you can get all you can while it's able to be gotten.
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. I know our audience appreciates it as well. And before we close out, do you have any closing announcements or any closing comments that you want to give to our audience?
Thank you for having us.
Yes, ma'am.
Be transparent with our journey.
Yes, ma'am. We thank you. Absolutely.
And I will say, you know, thank you to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan for allowing someone like me to have an opportunity to help him. You know, we come one way and he works on us. And if the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said he was like a piece of junk on the junk pile, and Allah found him and shined him up and put him back on the junk pile. So, you know, don't think you're going to get shined up and now you want to just go be amongst the shiny ones. No, we got to get back on the junk pile. And we have to be ready and willing. Brother Minister Kadir used to always say this to us, where are the Farrakhans for Farrakhan?
Wow.
Which one of us is willing to take this message to every nook and cranny of the United States and now the world? So I thank Allah for him. I want to thank Allah for the laborers of Muhammad Mosque number 85. My student captain, Brother Joseph, student sister captain Dawn, Sister Vanessa, our protocol, and Brother Darnell, our secretary, for helping me be a good brother, you know, working with me, being patient with me to serve the believers. If we come as servants, family, we will be the winner. So I thank you for allowing us to be on this beautiful program, and we pray that Allah will bless you to grow it and sustain it, because this is a great platform.
All praise due to Allah. We thank you for that, sir. We appreciate you both for coming on and sharing your journey with us. And family, before we close out, we just have a few announcements for our audience. If you like what you heard today, and I'm sure you have, you're welcome to join us studying by going to www.noi.org. But before we close out into the announcement, Brother West, I believe you want to share something about our brother.
Yes, ma'am. That'll be before the Muhammad moment.
Okay. Absolutely. Yes, sir. And family, we just have a few announcements. You can go to www.noi.org/go study, where you can hear stories from our various guests. We have lectures every Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm sorry, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You're welcome to go on the site, hear different lectures, go to the archives, look at the history of the Nation of Islam, and of course, donate. Final Call Radio, download it on all your devices. Take it with you on the go. Whether you're going to work, you're going to school, just running some errands. Definitely, instead of turning on the radio, turn on Final Call Radio and have that in your ear. So that way it's playing in your ear, it's playing in your children's ear, and it's playing in the ear of anyone that is in your environment. Speaking of Final Call, you see the cover that's going to be on the screen. Israel's Reign of Terror. If you want to know what's really going on in the world today, support Black media and support the Final Call. You can get the Final Call for one of our brothers on the street. You can actually also get a Final Call subscription by going online to thefinalcall.com. And please don't forget to get a subscription for our brothers and sisters that are behind the bars, behind the walls of the enemy, because as we know, they can lock up their physical body, but they cannot lock up their mind. And last but not least, do you want a book that greatly empowers your child and showcases their self-worth? Look no further than I Never Knew I'm All That. This is an empowering book that our children must read. Don't think about all those fairy tales they want to feed our children. If you want to feed their minds and help them grow, get a book. I Never Knew I'm All That. Book 1 is written by our host, Brother Donald Muhammad, and illustrations by Sister Amina Lay. And last but not least, also visit in Richmond, Virginia. You can actually come every Sunday to hear the reality of God delivered by student minister Tracy Muhammad, where you can visit them at 801 Prince Hall Drive in Richmond, Virginia, 23224. And here in Baltimore, 2801 Duplin Avenue, which is a Connections High School. Please visit us every Sunday, where you can hear lectures by our local representative here in Baltimore for the Imam Abdul Salam Muhammad. And with that, I will turn it over to Brother West, who will share something about our beloved brother, and then we will go to our Muhammad moment.
Yes, ma'am, family. We just want to commemorate our dear brother, Brother Nama Muhammad, with a moment of silence before our Muhammad moment. And now our Muhammad moment.
So we are, in reality, family. See, you go to college. How many of you are in a sorority? Would you raise your hand? Don't be bashful. Raise them up high. Come on. How many of you are in a fraternity? Raise your hand. How many of you are Masons? Shriners? See, these are fraternities and sororities that make you a brother based on certain principles of belief and practice. Am I right? Okay, so if you're a Delta or an AKA or a Sigma or an Omega or an Alpha or a Kappa, whatever that fraternity is, that's cool. But it's so limited. Because you're an Omega and you meet an Alpha, he don't have the same password, he don't give the same signal, so that's not your brother? Wait, I'm coming to something. I'm coming to something. I'm a BD. I'm a GD. I'm a stone. See, these are brotherhoods that sisters belong to too. Well, it's all right. I mean, you could be a BD, a GD, a stone, a vice lord, or whatever you want to call yourself. But look how limited that is. Because if a BD meet a GD, he ain't got the right, whatever that is. He ain't wearing the right color, you know what I mean? That ain't my brother, that's my enemy. Stop! BD, GD, stone, Alpha, Omega, Kappa, Sigma, Delta, that was not in the beginning. Wait a minute. Baptist, Methodist, Episcopalian, Catholic, Jehovah's Witness. Come on. That was not in the beginning. I'm a Reformed Jew. I'm an Orthodox Jew. I'm a this kind of Jew. That was not in the beginning. Hell, I don't want to know what Moses was. I don't want to know what Jesus was unless you can take me back to the origin of what God made the first human being before there was a Christian, before there was a Jew. There was God, there was human beings, and there was God giving instructions. That is his religion. Follow my instruction. Obey my command. Submit yourselves, and I will make you great in the earth. So the real brotherhood begins from God. And all of us are brothers, sisters. When I'm looking at you, I'm looking at a piece of my Creator. So like Jesus said, how can I love God whom I have never seen and hate my brother whom I see every day? What is in my brother that I should not hate? My brother is created in the same nature as myself. He's created in the same nature of all of God's creation. I mean, the sun is great. It obeys a law. So does the moon, so do the stars, so do the planets, so does all life. But you and I, God shows us so much respect. He never forces us to bow down. He only invites us. There is no compulsion in religion. The right way is clearly distinct from error. God loves you and he respects you, but he wants you to come to him, not by force, but by recognizing who he is and surrendering.
And with that, we'll close out in prayer. Attention prayer. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Rahman ar-Rahim. Malik yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim. Sirata alladhina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum, family.
My album. It's an album that speaks from the pain of the heart of a little boy wanting to see his people free.
Yeah, this is Big Snoop Dogg coming at you live and direct.
This is a project that attracted some of the most brilliant, award-winning musicians and artists.
Let's change the world. Let's change the world. Let's change the world. Whoa, let's change the world. Let's change the world. Let's change the world. Let's make hope for the future.
Brother, 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 what will you discover if we come together and do it like we never? I'm just sick and tired. I'm fit to light the fire. Now put this on the wire. The devil is a liar.